So I'm going to start off. Thanks for coming today. I thought I would make a couple of preliminary remarks and then turn it over to Kyle to discuss the football situation and answer football questions. That's not my expertise. So as I was thinking about this, I thought back to 5 years ago when we were up in the queue announcing that Dave Steckel was going to be our new football coach. Here was a guy who had been at the University of Missouri for 14 years. We're excited about that because he knew the state. He had relationships with high school coaches. He had just been a finalist for the Broyles Award. He was one of the top 3 assistant coaches in America. He had coached the top defense in the SEC for the last couple of years before he was hired. He's taken a huge pay cut to come here, and he was excited about the opportunity to build his program. I think if you think back over that, I don't know a single person that wasn't excited about that hire and about the potential for Bears football. And from my point of view, the big picture guy, not the football guy, in a lot of ways, Steck was very successful while he was here. And you're thinking, why in the world do you say that? Well, several reasons. First, the team grade point the last several years is the best it's ever been for football. You gotta remember these guys are student athletes. A lot of them are 18, 19, 20 years old. They're not gonna make a living playing pro football. And that's important. And Steck was good at that. Our APR was the highest it's ever been. Our graduation rates are the highest they've ever been. Very little player misconduct to manage. And when we did have player misconduct, he managed it in exactly the way I would have wanted him to, in a professional manner, putting the school first. We had no NCAA violations. We ran a clean, compliant program. He was the best at fundraising for both football and the university of any coach we've ever had. He, more than I, was personally responsible for bringing in a multi-million-dollar gift to help us fund the renovation of Glass Hall. How many football coaches are doing that or working at that for the benefit of the university? But unfortunately, we didn't win enough football games. And that's the reality of that. So my first point that whether you write this or not or show it or not is that I want to publicly thank Steck for taking a chance on Missouri State University. Nobody worked harder than he did. No one cared more about this team than he did, and no one hated losing more than he did. And so when I see people talk about or characterize our football program, and particularly the 100 young men who played for us, as an embarrassment, it's very disappointing. Because in my view, that kind of terminology ought to be reserved for non-compliance, misbehavior, abuse of players, when players aren't graduating, things that we would truly be ashamed of, none of which have we had in the 5 years that Steck was here. So, let me change subjects. I'm off the pedestal. You don't have to print or show any of that, but I just wanted to tell you where I was coming from. Okay, so we're starting a search. I've tasked Kyle, our athletic director, to lead that search. Because of the timing of when we are doing the search, and Kyle will talk more about that, we're not going to do our traditional search committee. The search committee is the 2 people sitting at this table. And our job is to bring in, this is the direction I wrote this down to say it, told Kyle I want to hire the best football coach available. I want to hire the best football coach available. And I want it done in the next 2 weeks if at all possible. And so we are working on that. I've also asked Kyle to reach out, because we don't have a search committee, to reach out to kind of all the constituent groups for input. He's doing that. He's talked to literally dozens of people already. Last night he met with team to get their input in terms of what qualities they're looking for a coach. And so anyone, if you know of anyone that wants to have input into that, direct them to our athletic director, and he'd be more than happy to talk to that. I'll be personally involved in making the selection, and so if you don't like the selection, I'm to blame. Period. Buck stops with me. I'm the CEO of this $380 million organization, and so if you don't like the who is selected, I'm the guy that made that decision. Final point, on a related matter, getting back to STEC, we have a Board of Governors Executive Committee meeting on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. In closed session, I anticipate that they will approve the separation agreement that Kyle has negotiated with STEC. And so first thing Thursday morning, after I sign on behalf of the university, that I'll be available for everybody. That's why it hadn't been distributed yet. It's not an official document. It hadn't been approved by the board. And because there's the potential to pay out over $250,000, I don't have authority to do that. That's board action. It requires board approval. And with that, believe it or not, I've got other things that I need to work on, and so I'm going to take off. Kyle's going to talk about the football situation, and he'll be happy to answer questions.
Okay, Monday after break, Coach Steck and I had a scheduled meeting to discuss a variety of football-related items. This meeting was a normal follow-up to the meeting we had around Thanksgiving. After much discussion, Steck and I concluded that it would be best for both parties that we should separate ways. Although this is not ideal in terms of timing, we plan to act swiftly to hire a new coach so we can salvage the recruiting period, as Clif indicated. We have contacted all of our recruits with the message that President Smart and I will be working quickly and closely together to find a replacement. As was mentioned in the press release, Justin Kramer will serve as the interim head coach until a permanent replacement has been found. Justin will be the day-to-day contact for our student athletes. I, too, want to personally thank Steck for his hard work and commitment to Missouri State. We've made improvements in many areas, as Cliff indicated, and I will always be grateful for our friendship. I wish him, Mary Beth, and Amanda the very best. Moving forward, we will look for a coach who is compliant, wants to be in the community, and is a good fit for our university and program. We are committed to having a successful program and one that is competitive in the Valley. So, I'm happy to take questions at this time.
What kind of changed between that Thanksgiving and your meeting?
Yeah, that meeting around Thanksgiving was really a follow-up to the season. So we talked a lot about things that happened during the season and how we could improve those things, which dovetail into many other things. And we just kind of, we both left it feeling, hey, we got to make it better. And then, we had our follow-up to that meeting. And the more we dove into that, we just both kind of felt like things weren't parallel to what we were thinking. And that's how we got to this point.
Was money a part of that? Did money come in?
Yeah, I think money is always a factor, but it wasn't the factor.
Which came first, the private donation or, I guess, approaching for a private donation?
Yeah, I think we had the private donations there, ready to go.
Around Thanksgiving or before or between that time?
We had before.
So you had private donation money that could buy out his contract before the Thanksgiving meeting. Then you had the Thanksgiving meeting and you said that everything, that you were retaining him, you were pleased with the direction everything was
Right.
going. And then in the weeks that followed, you had second thoughts, or he had second, who approached who first?
Yeah, well, that's the million-dollar question. In that meeting, Dan, we both talked about how the direction the program was going to go. And it started to separate at that particular time. That didn't happen in the first meeting. We never even discussed that. But the second meeting, we got in depth into more things, and then that was led to this situation. So, as I said, and it was the truth, that wasn't the factor of money. It was the direction of how we wanted to get this thing done. That was the issue. So,
Can you expound on some of that conversation?
I'd rather not. I think that's private information that we had and we talked about. But I can tell you, it's all information that anything that you would talk about with your program. So recruiting, facilities, the whole program, that's the kind of stuff that we talked about, every issue. So,
How much do you think this kind of indecision is gonna hurt going for the next coach? Because this is so late in the process right now.
I don't think it's gonna hurt us at all.
How much interest has been expressed already in the job?
Yeah, you know, I don't usually talk much about that, as you all know, but I can tell you that we've had a lot of interest.
When you look at the hire now as opposed to 5 years ago, what in your, I guess, process has changed over that span? I mean, when you hired Steck as opposed to what you're going through now, I mean, are there different hoops that you sort of check off to make sure that you're going about it the right way?
Well, you know, I think, as Clif mentioned, I think we're better off in a lot of things, right? We're better off in facilities. We're better off in terms of fundraising where we are right now. Our grade point average and APR is really good. So I think coming into this situation, someone's gonna have a good situation from that side of things. We just gotta get, you know, we've gotta do a better job of recruiting, and we've gotta do a better job of winning games.
Steck talked a lot about how the culture had changed, and he felt pretty profoundly that he had done a nice job in that area, and there was a winning attitude, even if it didn't translate in the win column. Would you resonate there?
Yeah, well, I think, again, based upon what I just talked about, a lot of those things improved. And, but the winning culture in terms of on the scoreboard didn't.
Was it a mistake to hire Steck 5 years ago?
What's it look like now, Dan? Does it look like that? I mean, from a win and loss perspective, it doesn't look like it worked out. But, you know, I'm not gonna say, well, if I know now, when I knew that, I would hire, well, of course you would, because we were one, whatever. No, but all those characteristics are good characteristics when we looked at it to make the decision. All those were good things. So that's, you know, as Clif laid out, made sense, right? Made sense. Everything made sense. It just didn't work out.
What about that contract rule that happened a couple of years into it? Was that?
That was a 4 and 7 year, and we were making progress, and we thought we were headed in the right direction. And I think once you get to that point, you've got to decide if you're going to go or you're not going to go. And we decided to go.
Does that change how you're gonna do things going forward, just seeing where that came in?
Not necessarily. I think you have to look at each situation. I don't think you can just automatically say you're going to do it that way. Just depends on the situation.
Have any of the current players made any indication about their plans, or are they wait to see who the coach is going to be?
Yeah, no, we've had really good success with that right now in terms of recruits and existing guys. When I talk to them, I think we've got maybe one that's wavering a little bit on both sides. So, you know, we'll see. So I would say overall, we're in pretty good shape.
So if you look back now, I mean, he was allowed to sign 20 players in the early signing period. Do you wish you guys came to that conclusion earlier? I mean, that's...
Well, I think we probably, you know, I don't want to speak for Steck, but probably it would have made more sense, but we didn't. You know, that wasn't the conversation that we had. So.
Do you feel like Steck didn't want to do it anymore, or you said that there was a difference of opinion in that, after that second meeting. Did it seem to you that he came in with a different attitude that he did at Thanksgiving, or?
No, again, it was a mutually agreed upon discussion. It just, when he asked questions and my responses to his questions, we just weren't quite aligned as much as we needed to. And I think both of us felt like, hey, if we're not in sync, it's a hard enough job if you're not in sync to make the thing work. And we weren't quite there. So we thought, you know what, it's best for us to both part ways.
You two had a good working relationship and everything too, so that was just kind of weird change?
Well, I don't know if it's weird, it's just, yeah, it probably was unusual based upon the timing of it, yes.
You and President Smart on the same page pretty much the whole time in what you felt with Steck? I mean, do you think that both of you guys felt the same way about him as the coach of the program for the 5 years that you had there?
Yeah, so we're very much on the same page. There's not very often when we are not on the same page.
I spoke with a lot of former players from Thursday through Saturday, and I know Clif said he doesn't want to hear the word embarrassment. Former players have used the word embarrassment, sad, and unfortunate when talking about the program, not just Steck's tenure, Terry Allen's tenure, the last couple of decades. They bring up the facilities are not on par. Indoor facility, of course, we've heard D2 high schools around our area have indoor facilities. Plaster Stadium, the lower level, says that when wives and mothers of players have to go to the bathroom, it's like going to the restroom in Mexico. The concourse level on the lower portion of Plaster is very outdated with chain link fence. The money for the payroll went up, but not recruiting expenses like other schools in the valley, the cost of attendance like other schools in the valley. It seems as if, in their words, they're not trying to improve football as far as Missouri State is concerned, they're just trying to sustain it. I guess your reaction to that, to
Yeah, that's a
former
really great
players.
statement. That's really good. And I think some of the things you mentioned were things we discussed, Chad.
From your standpoint, this hire, like, I've said that I think it's a really important hire just for you, and it could kind of change maybe how the public looks at your legacy on Missouri State. Do you feel any of that pressure, or?
I don't worry about my legacy too much. Others will determine that. I'm going to hire the best football coach I possibly can. If people like that, that's fine. I hope it's successful. That's my job, is to make it successful. I'm not worried about my legacy.
The new coach that you're looking to hire now, with the things that you've experienced in the last 5 years, are you looking at different things? Maybe you want some FCS experience, that kind of thing?
Yeah, you know, we're trying to get the best fit, you know, and that's hard. We've had, you know, you look at that and you looked at, historically, you've looked at people I think that made sense, that were good people, that were successful, and for whatever reason that didn't work out. So you look at it the best way you think and make the right decision. And I think last time with the Steck hire, it was a defensive hire, right? Because that kind of felt like when you did that. Well, then, you know, so I don't, you just get the best person you think you can get, and I don't know if you necessarily have to worry about defense or offense. You worry about who can do the best job and win ball games.
What about this level as opposed to FBS? You know what I mean? Someone that appreciates the championship series level of football, as opposed to an FBS guy coming down that maybe doesn't understand the playoffs, doesn't understand the type of athlete that you have here.
Yeah, I think it depends on the individual. I don't think you can just label somebody coming from there. I think you need to find a coach that can win, been successful, and I'm not so worried about that, where they come from. It could be any level. I'm not worried about that.
You said you're trying to act quickly on this next hire. With signing day, you know, less than a month away, and you talk about players kind of waiting to see who's hired next. Do you have a specific deadline in mind that you've set for yourselves to try and get this hire done?
Yeah, as soon as we possibly can. I mean, that's what we need to do. And, you know, Clif mentioned 2 weeks, but yeah, we hope to get it done as soon as possible for that very reason, and just bring normalcy back to our program. So,
Does football need to be, does this university need to have FCS football?
yeah, it needs to have football, that's for sure. Yeah, I don't think we're going FBS football, so yeah, yes.
Is there anything that you can do, I guess, to maybe those concerns, maybe for cost of attendance, for other things, is that even on your radar right now, or in the future?
Yeah, it is, Chad, and all those things you mentioned are on the radar. And I think it goes to, you know, it's not all the university's responsibility to do that, because, you know, the situation that we're in financially with enrollment is hard to do that. So I work together with Clif, and we try to, you know, make improvements where we can make them. And I think it helps, you know, is it the chicken or the egg, right? That's what we're really talking about, is it the chicken or the egg? The more we put into it to get it going as an investment, we got to work on that. And we need people to believe in us and try to help with us to make that happen. So that's the challenge. Man, that is the challenge right there.
With this community, it shouldn't be hard to sell any coach to come here, but what's the best selling point you could say to a prospective coach to come to Missouri State?
Yeah, I do think, in light of all the things you said there, all right?
But
All those
the
things.
former player said it, I'm just
No,
relating.
I don't, you know that, I don't.
Yeah.
But all that, we still have a lot of positives, right? I mean, we just spent quite a bit of money on the stadium, and the offices have been renovated, the weight room's been renovated. We've got summer school. Our issue is we've got to try to not just get caught up, we've got to try to at least get ahead in some areas. And I think that's the challenge that we have. And a coach has to know that, right? A coach has to know what they're getting into. And once they know that, then you work with them. And you try to make small gains and small successes. So again, we're in a great conference. I'm getting to answer your question. We're in a great conference. I looked at it as a positive, not a negative. All right. Again, we've got, I think, good enough facilities. Springfield is a wonderful community. I can't tell you how many people, I was in Frisco, as I think some of you may know, this weekend, and I had every single person I talked to said, that's a really good job. That's a really good job. I said, yeah, I think it is too. And you've got the conference, you've got Springfield, you've got administrative support, yeah, you need some things and get the right guy, but that's a great place to live and a great place to raise a family, and the university's growing. All those things are positive. So, and you've got a chance to, you know, to do something to be special, because, you know, we need someone who can come in here and change this thing and get it going. So, hopefully somebody will believe in that and want to be here.
Based on the setup of your last two meetings, the one with Steck, and then it basically took almost a month and a half to decide that you guys weren't on the same track, is that going to change how you host those meetings with coaches at the end of seasons? Because
That's a good
it took
question.
so long
That's the
after?
best question probably we've had so far. No offense to the rest. Sorry, Dan, don't get it. Yeah, that's probably the thing I learned the most, is we need to get that buttoned up. Now, that being said, if someone changes their mind, there's not much, but that's not the case, okay? I'm not saying that didn't, but yeah, there needs to be more of a commitment, I guess, if you would, but we just, you know, I take part blame on that, because my assumption was we're moving full steam ahead.
Is, with all the situation going on, is spring ball still on track where you think you want to have it, or are you going to push it back a little bit?
No, I think we're okay. I would, at least today, I think we're okay. Yeah, and let me just say this about our current student athletes, because they sometimes get lost in this. As I talked to them, they were attentive, had some good questions, and we're going to move forward. And my message to them was business as normal. Just control what you can control. All right? Don't worry about other things that you can't control, but control the things that you can control, and go to class, do the right things, go to strength and conditioning. If you've got treatment, do all the things you're supposed to do, and we'll get you a good coach.
As far as the assistants are concerned, is there money in place if there's additional buyouts necessary for some of those?
Yeah, our deal with the assistant coaches is they have till February 29th. So we gave them time to, you know, hopefully find something else, and then the new group comes in, they can all, you know, be interviewed by the coach and find out if they want to stay or if they're going to be retained, but they have till February 29th.
How do you manage this in the volleyball search right now?
Yeah, good question. Working on it both.
Any names there?
Getting closer.
Do you think Steck has another job lined up? Did you think that may have been something?
I don't know that. That wasn't the discussion that we had. He did not say that, so I don't know. But that's not what he told me Monday, or whenever we didn't have. So I don't know, Dan.
You're a marketing guy, do you still use Bear Up going forward?
Maybe not.
What was the, when the press release came out Thursday to today, why the wait to talk?
Because I was in Frisco.
Okay.
When you get back. Trust me, I would have loved to done Thursday. I'd love to have this finished.
So I'm just getting a, before that Monday meeting, you thought everything was okay, and then you come in for the second meeting with Steck, and then everything just felt bad.
That's correct.
Just weird,
Yeah. And again, we didn't meet till after the holidays.
Right.
Just to clarify, isn't the Bear Up trademark, isn't that actually owned by Dave Steckel?
No.
Thank you, licensing director. All right. Thank you all very much.